Hello, and welcome to the French Kiss Life podcast, all about living with more elegance, style, and joie de vivre in your everyday life. I'm Tonya Lee, your hostess. Let's get started. Hello, my friends. I am so excited about today's podcast because we're doing things a little bit different. You may or may not realize this, but my past podcasts have basically been me reading my blog post. Fortunately, I write the way I talk, so it doesn't seem so unnatural, but it is missing that very conversational element, which I love. And I've had so many people, from my clients to my team members to my family, say, you know what, Tonya, you do best when you go off script. So we're going to see if they're right. Because in this episode, I am going to be answering questions that have come in. We're going to call this the Dear Tonya episode. Every week I have readers and friends and people just ask me questions, and I wish I could get around to answering all of them, but there are only so many hours in the day. So I figured that this podcast is a great platform for me to answer some of those that I feel like a lot of you may be having. I find that when one person has a question, usually 1,000 others have a very similar question. So we're going to jump right in, and I'm going to start with a question that came in from Tony. She said, when you've been married a while and you're great pals, how do you reignite the passion? Okay, Tony. So first of all, you've worked with me for a long time, and I have a sneaky suspicion that you already know what I'm going to say. But for those of you who don't know my philosophy, who've never worked with me, let me start off by saying that passion is a feeling. It's an emotion. And every emotion comes from your thinking. We think it comes from outside of us, but that's never the case. Something happens, we think a thought, and then we feel an emotion. So when it comes to relationships, think about it this way. When you first meet someone, you are probably, especially if there's chemistry there, you're probably thinking incredible, passionate thoughts about that person. And therefore, you think it's a passionate relationship. But the truth is, you're just thinking passionate thoughts. But when you've been together for a while, what ends up happening is you start to hone in on those things that maybe you don't like about your partner, or that irritate you, or you start to compare your relationship to those relationships outside of you. And therefore, you start to think thoughts that are in opposition to passion. And the good news is nothing has to change, Tony, in order for you to reignite that passion. The only thing that has to change is your thinking. Here's the way I look at it. I value how I feel more than what's happening outside of me. And for this reason, I don't give that responsibility over to another person. So for example, my guy, I could be pissed off at him all of the time if I wanted to. There's always something to be upset about with your partner, right? But I love feeling love. I love feeling passionate. I love feeling joy. So I choose to focus on those things that give me those emotions. I think joyful, passionate, loving thoughts when I look at him because it feels better. The mistake that we often make is we want that person to change in order for us to feel passion. And we withhold our passion, we withhold our love. And then what ends up happening is we deny ourselves of the very thing that we want. And then we think if we withhold it long enough that they're going to somehow miraculously give it to us, but it never works that way. You think about it. When you start nagging or you just start coexisting and you don't bring your best to the game, then chances are your partner's going to start withdrawing. He's going to start mirroring what you're doing. And so in life, my philosophy is bring it. Whatever it is that you want, bring it to that situation. You get to choose to think passionate thoughts. Now, here's the thing. If you've gotten into a rut of thinking thoughts that aren't so passionate, you're going to have to practice. It's not just going to be an overnight thing. But again, when you value how you feel more than what's happening outside of you, you're willing to do that practice. So what would be a really great exercise for you, Tony, is when you think of your husband to write down your thoughts about him and your relationship. And when you do that, you will have a very clear understanding of why you don't feel passionate right now. And the only thing you have to do to reignite it is to start shifting those thoughts. And what you're probably going to find is that he starts to shift as well. But you know what? It won't matter because you'll get what you're really after, which is that feeling of passion. He can just keep being who he's being, and you will still get to feel passion, which is what you're really after. And then what you're going to find is when you're feeling passionate, when you're creating that passion for yourself, you're going to show up differently. You're probably going to have more passionate experiences with him because your energy has shifted. So just play around with that, okay? Write down what you're thinking right now about the relationship, get an understanding of why you're not feeling passionate, and begin to practice more passionate thoughts when it comes to your relationship. Okay, the next question comes from Rebecca. She said, "Dear Tonya, I always feel torn between being content and striving for goals. I feel like I should be happy with my life, but there's so much I want to do. How do you know which to choose?" Oh my God, Rebecca, I love this question. So here's the thing. You don't have to choose between happiness and going for your goals. In fact, I think the best way to reach your goals is to find happiness in your life right now. For whatever reason, we believe we have to be so discontent with where we are in order to get to where we want to be. But my experience has been that only holds me back. When I'm feeling very discontent where I am, I end up arguing with where I am versus getting that energy channeled towards what I want to create. And I talk a lot about goals because I feel like a lot of times we're striving for goals that don't even mean much to us. They're things that we think we should do. I mean, weight loss is a great example. A lot of women think they want to lose weight, and then when they come to work with me, they realize, actually, I don't really want to lose weight. Society makes me feel like I should want to lose it. But what they're really after are things like to feel healthier or to travel more, or to have more pleasure in their life. And it just so happens that when they start engaging in those things, the weight falls off. It's miraculous and amazing all at the same time. But when it comes to goals, you first of all have to understand why you are striving for that goal, and if you like your reason. And if you do, give yourself permission to go all in 100%. But don't think that your happiness is going to be found when you reach a goal. That is a huge mistake, and it's what keeps a lot of us very miserable. We reach a goal, and the next thing you know, we set a new one, and so our happiness is now out in front of us instead of here in this present moment. I think the best way to reach a goal is to find happiness here, to strive from a place of abundance, not from scarcity and lack. Because again, that energy it slows you down. I know for me, it is so much easier to create when I am feeling happy and excited and when I'm in those higher vibration emotions versus when I'm resisting and hating where I am and in a state of fear and scarcity. So the good news, Rebecca, is you don't have to choose, right? You don't have to hate where you are and be unhappy with where you are in order to reach your goals. Equally, you don't have to be unhappy to have goals, right? I love the idea of setting goals for myself and thinking, life's amazing now, and wouldn't it be amazing if I could do this? I'm excited just to see what I'm capable of in this lifetime. And even if I don't hit it, it's okay because I can create my own happiness in this moment. But wouldn't it be nice to find out? And that's how I want you all to be thinking about your goals. Not thinking that life is going to be so much better once you reach the goal, because if you don't change the way you think, you'll reach the goal and then you'll still be unhappy. And I've seen that so many times, right? And equally, I don't want you to think that you can't set goals unless you're miserable. That's just crazy. It's just crazy. What if you can create happiness in the life you have today and set amazing goals for yourself and have fun in trying to reach them? To me, that is the holy grail of goal setting. Okay, the next question is from Sandy, and she says, Dear Tonya, how do you handle detractors when you set out to French kiss life on your own terms? This is such a great question. And I just want to point out, Sandy, that even the way the question was framed sort of gives me a peek into your mindset. And I could be 100% off base, but I just want to throw this out there. The way it was framed, it almost feels like you see yourself as the victim of life's circumstances, right? Like there's detractors all around trying to pull me away from what I want. And that's the first thing I want to suggest that you take a look at, because in life we have choices, right? And we get to choose what it is that we do. Now, a lot of times when we make those choices, it's very uncomfortable. If people are trying to get us to do something a certain way and we don't want to, we'll blame our response on them or our lack of action on them, when the truth is you just don't want to feel the discomfort that's going to happen when you tell those people no, right? And then on the other hand, there are times that we choose to do something because we really want to, and then we fight with doing it. So here's a really great example. The past 18 months, some of you may have heard me talk about this on the podcast, but my daughter has been sick and she is starting to turn the corner. Hallelujah. I'm so happy. But it was definitely an unexpected circumstance in my life. I did not plan on this happening. And I could have been very upset and said, her situation's detracting me from all of the things that I set out to do. But the truth of it was, I wanted to support her during this time. And I had to look at my goals and my plans and rearrange, because I really, really wanted to do it. So I didn't argue with what was happening. I fully accepted it. I fully accepted my response and what it was I was going to do. And I kept moving forward. And because of that, I feel like I was better able to support her, and I didn't get caught up in this resentment of why my daughter and not, why was it her? And, all of the stuff that we can do when life happens. And so I just want to really challenge you to look at what you are framing as a detractor. And is it something that you really don't want to do that keeps detracting you? Or is it something that you actually want to do, you just wish it wasn't happening? And fully own your choice. Don't give that power over to other people. That's how you French kiss life, right? Because when you do, you feel so much more empowered. You feel so much more confident. You feel so much more joyful when you're not resentful or angry at being pulled in all of these different directions, when in fact, you're the one making the choice. As adult women, we get to choose what we say yes and what we say no to. And so that's my A to your Q without knowing more about your situation, but I hope there are a few nuggets in there that you can use to really get you clear on how it is you do want to live your life and what's going to have to happen in order for you to do so. Okay, here's our final question. This one's from Vanessa, and she says, the other day I read that I should accept my body the way it is now, but I don't want to because I don't like the weight I'm at. Over the past 5 years, I've put on 35 pounds and I hate how I look in the mirror. What are your thoughts on acceptance versus wanting to change? Great question, Vanessa. This is actually very similar to Rebecca's question when she was asking about being content and striving for goals. I come from the school of thought that the best way to lose weight is to accept the body you're in right now. And I know this because I've actually experienced it. I tried to hate myself skinny, and I actually did lose a lot of weight in a very unhealthy way. And when I got down to a size 2, I was just as miserable, if not more so, than when I was at my heaviest. And so I realized that what I was always after was a feeling. I wanted to feel confident. I wanted to feel happy. I wanted to feel healthy. I wanted to feel sexy. I wanted to feel empowered. And none of that can be given to you through weight loss. I know it sounds crazy, but we think when we lose weight, we're going to miraculously be happier. And the only thing that's different is you're a smaller size and you can buy smaller clothes, but it doesn't necessarily change what's going on within you. So when I started accepting my body and honoring it and creating the feelings that I thought I'd have one day when I lost the weight, that is when I was inspired to take better care of my body. When I was hating my body, it created feelings of frustration and hopelessness and anger and resentment. And guess what I wanted to do when I felt that way? Eat. Usually bags of Cheetos. Those were my go-to comfort food, which really didn't give me any comfort. But truthfully, when I started to be like, you know what? This approach isn't working. I'm going to try a different approach. And I actually teach this in Slim Chic and Savvy. And it's my signature program in case you all don't know. And I see women just shed weight. It's like amazing when you change your mindset, when you stop fighting with where you are and you use that energy to create yourself, weight loss becomes so much easier. So much easier. And so for you, Vanessa, I just want to offer you that you can accept your body because nothing good ever comes from beating yourself up and hating yourself. Nothing. I promise you that. So working on the acceptance piece is the way to create change, especially when it comes to weight loss. So accept and have that desire to want to take exceptional care of your body and to get to what I call your happy weight. And if you all want to learn more about how I like to think, I actually created a free video series. It's called The 3 Truths of Elegant Women. And just a little hint, I'm not going to ask you to wear pearls and lipstick because I think elegance is a mindset. But it's really how I got unstuck in life because I used to be a hot mess, y'all. I was overweight, overwhelmed. I was over life. And I started practicing these mindset shifts and it has radically changed everything. So if you want to learn more, go over to frenchkisslife.com/elegant and you will get access to the 3 videos. Okay, well, that wraps up the very first Dear Tonya episode. I really hope you enjoyed it. And in fact, I plan on doing more. So if you have a burning question for me, please email us at support@tonyalee.com and you may be featured on an upcoming Dear Tonya podcast. Have a great day, everybody. Thanks for tuning in, and I will see you in the next podcast. Cheers.